Hello, everybody. This is Kenny Cummins, and you are chilling with Kenny C right here on TMVCafe.com, bringing you entertainment to your ears as we continue with the Nashville Entertainment Weekly series.
Yep.
For my next guest of the evening, he is a recording artist from the volunteer state of Tennessee. He goes by the name of Rick Revel, and he is with me right now with his styling background with the
Yeah.
microphone and the
Yeah.
posters in the back. How's it going, Rick?
Going real good. We're talking to you from Henry, Tennessee, the soybean capital of the world.
Gotcha. So how are you
Yeah.
feeling on this Thursday, man?
Oh man, it's nice. It's a rainy day. We're finally getting a long needed rain for all the soybeans and everything. Of course, it's harvest time, but there's still some growth for the cotton and things, so it's nice. Our grass is turned brown, so it's nice to get some rain for a change. Been nearly way over 30 days since we had a real good rain, so it's nice
Mm.
to hear it raining outside.
You can't go wrong with some rain considering
Yeah.
these past few months of summer that we've dealt
Yep.
with. Some people like summer. Some people have preference, obviously.
Yep.
I'm a summer person, but I'm all for some rain from time to time just to
Yeah.
cool things down here.
Well, I was raised on a farm, so being raised on a farm, you're more conscious of getting rain and making sure the livestock have water. So, being raised on a farm, it's just I'm more conscious of it than the average person.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Just
So
an old country boy.
for sure, for sure. So Rick, talk about your journey as far as music. How did you get into the music, getting into being a recording artist?
Well, it started out loving music when I was a small child and went as far as building a guitar out of Tinker Toys. So I
Mhm.
always enjoyed doing things with my hands and building things and having a craft. And so wound up when I was about 10 years old. I kept asking mom and dad for a guitar, and they borrowed one from a neighbor, somebody we went to church with, and it was a little true tone guitar, and I started playing it, but it was a real old guitar, and they saw that I was going to try to stick with it, so I wound up getting a harmony guitar, and by age 12, I was playing in a band called Uncle Bill and the Hillbillies, and played with that group, and from that, got a Martin guitar and started singing, and that led on to being asked to be on TV shows. And I started doing TV shows in Nashville when I was 15. And by age 15, 16, I was doing several TV shows, starting to play with, I met Roy Acuff and several country music artists that encouraged me to keep doing what I was doing. Of course, at that time, Nashville wasn't really interested in young people. They were wanting somebody more mature that lived life, and so getting signed to a record label at age 15 or 16 was not really heard of. And so that's the excuse all the record labels would give me. And then Tanya Tucker came along,
Yeah.
and she was young. She was about my age at that time, so it's like, well, she got signed, and but wound up meeting Loretta Lynn along the way and began writing for her publishing company, and I became one of the youngest songwriters in Nashville in that particular period, and worked at her ranch as her entertainment manager. I met Mooney, her husband, on the bicentennial wagon train. I rode all the way from Memphis, Tennessee to Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. So I had quite the experience and a lot of exciting stories that just came from that chapter of my life. Had a chance during that period to cut my first songs in a major studio. Before I went on the bicentennial wagon train about 50 years ago, in 1974, before you were thought of, I wound up doing my first song. It was a gospel song, Lord Have Mercy on Me. So, well, a song I had written, and did that song and So that was my first in the studio. And then in 76, I did four more songs and it just kind of kept building from there and started my recording career quite young.
That's incredible. Most artists, I guess, from one era to another, they usually start in their 20s or 30s or late.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, started in your teens, and
Yep.
you had the feel for it. You was getting TV time. You was paying your dues, working your way up. You got a chance to link up with some
Yeah.
established artists. And so, yeah, you definitely made a name for yourself at a
Yeah.
very, very young age. And sometimes musicians at a young age, it feels like sink or swim. Like you definitely got to
It
be
does.
around.
It
You got to
does.
be around people that really, really care. That really is
Yep.
gonna want to see you flourish.
Yeah,
And
you do.
yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
it was interesting how the industry would change and being involved as long as I have over a 50-year span, watching it like I mentioned earlier, they when I was 15, 14, 15, 16 years old, they were saying, "Oh, you're too young and you need to, mature and you need to live life." And when I worked at the publishing company, they kept telling me the same thing. You haven't lived enough life. And at that time, it was very popular, for you had Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, and Johnny Rodriguez, and all these different artists, and they'd spent time in jail. So literally, I'm having people suggest, well, you haven't been to jail. And at that time, I wasn't married yet. So they say, well, you haven't gone through a divorce, and I haven't taken a drop of liquor in my life. I just
Yeah.
don't drink. And so they said, and you need to have an experience of getting drunk. And they made a long list of things
Oh my
in order to write a
goodness.
country song that I needed to do, these qualifications to be a songwriter for country music. And I said, I guess it's not going to happen because I'm not going to do those things. So I would write from other people's experiences and I would listen to them talk. And that's what I've learned to do is write stories and listen to other people tell stories. And Tom T. Hall was good at that. And I learned a lot from Tom T. Hall, uh, listening to him talk and how he would put songs together. And that's what he was a great listener. And
Mhm.
Tom T. Hall would listen to conversations. He would sit down in a bar a lot of times, and he'd just sit and have a drink with people and listen to what they had to say. And he'd write these stories down, and then sooner or later that song would become a song, just like Watermelon Wine. That the song eventually became to birth because of a story somebody told him. So that's the things I learned to do. Uh, when I hit age 30, a lot of the record labels then were more excited about people like Garth Brooks and Billy Ray Cyrus, and by then they were saying, "Well, you're about to get too old." And I'm saying, "What?" When I was 15, you said, "Well, by the time I'm 29 or 30 years old, I'll be getting at the right age," and now I'm at that age, and you're saying I'm too old. So the industry kept changing, and it's still changing
Yeah,
this very day. Traditional music is almost passe in terms of how it's written and how it's produced. And that's the reason for this whole project, that Muscle Shoals sound.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know how much. I'm not real familiar with the Kenny C and chilling with Kenny C. I'm not sure how much country music you listen to, but if you listen to a lot like I do, it's like it has changed in the last 15 to 20 years, and it has more of a pop culture feel to it now. It has more of a hip
yeah,
hop feel, a lot of snapping fingers, and it's just different how it's written and how it's produced. And Muscle Shoals, Alabama, is probably more famous for traditional music, and oddly enough, back in its heyday and its era, it was cutting more hit songs than Nashville, Memphis, and LA combined.
mm,
For R&B and blues, even country music albums were being cut there. Um, Southern rock was born there. So I wanted to cut an album there. If I felt it still had the sound, and I heard some musicians from there, and they still kept that sound. They were still keeping that tradition. So I got an opportunity to record an album at the Wishbone Studio, and the rest is history. I mean, we were able to capture traditional sounds, and that's what's very important to me is making music sound like it used to, but have a fresh, new, robust sound to it. And that's what our new project's called, that Muscle Shoals sound.
Yeah, so I do listen to a variety of music. And as far as the country side of things, I've played folk, I'll play
Right.
Americana, bluegrass.
Oh, I love
Um,
bluegrass. I
um,
grew up on bluegrass.
yeah, I'm grown on bluegrass for I say for the last 7 or 8 years, mostly because of local music here in Kentucky. I've got
Right.
a feel for that sound. As far as country music, it definitely has changed for the past
Mhm.
15, 20 years as far as the sound.
Yeah.
It's definitely felt more of a pop country. It's definitely has
Yep.
grown and evolved. But there are artists that still gives you the traditional country.
Yep. It
People
did.
like yourself and other artists, like a Garth Brooks, like a
Right.
Merle Haggard or Johnny Cash, those
Hmm.
artists. Um, but yeah, I still tap into the traditional country.
Thank you for doing
So
so. Thank you for
yeah.
keeping in touch with our roots, because if we lose contact with our roots and with our music and our cultures and our lifestyles, if we start losing track of our roots, and that's part of what Southern Man in a Strange Land, why I wrote that song, if we start losing our roots and who we are as individuals and who we are as a country, when we start losing those roots, we get lost. And that's the
Yeah.
last thing we need to be is more lost than we are because we're losing our way. I mean, it's just a fact of life. We're starting to
Yeah.
lose our way as a country. And if I can at least for a moment, for 3 to 4 minutes as my song plays, if it can take somebody and make them stop and think, wow, we're starting to lose our culture, our heritage, or whatever the song might be. I've got another song called Singing River, and it's actually about the plane crash when we lost some of the Leonard Skinner band members,
Mhm.
when we lost Van Zant and we lost the ones out of the band. And I have a huge love of history, American history. I have a TV show called History Highway, which kind of led to me down to Muscle Shoals, Alabama to do this project. But loving history like I do, I wanted with Singing River, I wanted to tell the story about how the river got its name, and it got its name from the Cherokee Indians. And I wanted to tell that story in the song as well as talk about Leonard Skinner and the different ones that are music heroes, those that really, like Rick Hall and those that got Muscle Shoals started. I want to be able to tell this story. So when you listen to my album, Muscle Shoals Sound, it's a history lesson about music, but it's about our culture. It's about all the. I have another song called "Son of a Moonshiner." It's basically a true story about some people that had a run-in with Buford Pusser. You remember Buford Pusser, the movie
Yeah.
Walking Tall?
Mhm.
So I've written a song that ties in with some individuals that butted heads with Buford Pusser. So it's got a lot of variety to it, but it's good, strong traditional music that has that Americana. There's some blues songs on it. I wrote a song about W.C. Handy, the father of the blues. This black man, brother, he could play that trumpet. He was born to play that trumpet. And I got a chance to record the music video on the front porch of the home where he was born. You talking about giving you chills. That gave me chills. But he basically changed the music industry. He had some of the first blues that went into print. The blues was born before he was, but he was the first one to make it popular. The St. Louis Blues, that was one of his first popular songs, and the Memphis Blues.
Yeah.
And sheet music was published with his name on it, and people all over the world began playing blues music because of W.C. Handy. And so I wanted to have an album that would commemorate people like WC and the people at Muscle Shoals Sound. And, we all have a mission, or we need to have a mission, but I wanted my music to have a purpose. I just didn't want to produce music, Kenny. I just didn't want to do it just to say I just produced music for the fun of it, for a hobby. It's not a hobby, it's a passion, it's a love. And this is what I've been doing since I was about 10 years old. So I'm pretty serious about it.
Absolutely, man. And props to artists like yourself that's reminding people of what country music is and what the organs of country music. You know,
Mhm.
guys like yourself and many others. You know, that traditional country is still there,
Mhm.
obviously, but you know, support is important
It
and
is.
awareness and people higher ups, whether it's venues, whether it's radio stations, and just anyone that has a hand of spreading the word on
Mhm.
this traditional sound. Um, whether it's Nashville, whether it's Alabama, whether it's Mississippi, or anywhere across the world. So go check out Rick's latest single, Southern Man in a Strange Land.
Yes, sir.
Came out just August of last month. It is
Yeah.
available on all streaming platforms. You can
Yep.
check
It's on
out
all. Mhm.
Rick's music and social media sites and tap in with Rick, man. He's got a lot in the works, and I want to thank you, Rick, for this conversation,
Thank
giving
you,
me
Kitty.
and also giving me some history, because you got a lot of history on your side, just the longevity that you have and still do. Uh, and as you point out, the passion is still there for you as an artist. So anybody that has a passion and sticks with it through all the adversity that you have to deal with and still doing it to the best of your ability, that's very impressive. So
Well, thank you,
props
brother.
to you, Rick, for that. And again, speaking of this Southern Man, he got the album cover on the right side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's literally
Yeah. I've
right
got,
there.
yeah. Yeah. There's the album cover there and
Yeah,
singles there. So, yeah.
yeah, there you go. Thank you for your
Yeah.
time, Rick.
Bless you, brother.
Continue success with everything, and you enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks again, man.
Bless you, brother. I wish you well on your journey too.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Same to you.
All right.